Unless you've been completely cut off from the internet for the past week or so, you will no doubt be aware that this weekend is of course San Diego Comic-Con 2023. And so all of the major toy companies have been rocking up, putting out their stores and showing us what they're going to be releasing over the next year. And as ever, this is a time of great excitement and anticipation as we get to see some confirmation of rumours and we get to see some brand new figures that are heading our way. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different today and give you my thoughts on my personal highlights that have stood out to me so far. Now this is by no means going to be a comprehensive video taking a look at everything that has been announced at SDCC. I'm only going to be focusing on things that are of particular interest to me and the type of lines that I tend to cover on my channel. The other caveat of course is that there's still a full day to go when I'm dropping this video, so there may be more fantastic additions and reveals that have not been announced yet and they may appear after this video is dropped, so apologies if I miss anything really massive and important. But anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at some of the fantastic reveals so far. So let's start off by taking a look at McFarlane Toys. Now, McFarlane managed to steal all the headlines initially because on the first day of SDCC 23, they dropped this special 6-pack of Batman movie action figures in the 7-inch scale, of course, from their DC Multiverse line. This special box set came with all 6 movie Batmen, representing a first for the Val Kilmer Batman Forever Batman and of course the George Clooney Batman and Robin Batman. But that wasn't all, because it was also a second chance for those who missed out on picking up the Batman 89 Keaton Batman figure, which was an Amazon exclusive together with the Batmobile. Now once again, this 6-figure set was an Amazon exclusive and it sold out within minutes. Undoubtedly, this is going to be immensely frustrating to some, including myself, who never got a shot at picking this set up in the UK, which is a real shame, because I do think this is actually a really exciting set. I love the Batman films, I'm a huge Batman fan, as you already know, I'm sure, and to have these all in a consistent scale from one toy company would have been really, really exciting. Now, yes, I already have the Patterson Batman, for example. There's a couple of other ones, like the Dark Knight, that has already been previously released, but so far I haven't managed to snag. But this is an opportunity to have them all again, and for those who did already pick up some of these figures and would be double dipping, there are some minor tweaks that still make this an incentive to pick up, and that major thing, as you can see, is the fact that they have cloth capes. And the set also comes with a bat signal, and the cool thing about this bat signal is that you can actually swap out the bat logo to have the appropriate Batman represented there. So I do think that this is a bit cheeky in some ways, being a bit of a double dip, but there are enough tweaks here, I think, to make this worthwhile. One of my major complaints with McFarlane Toys, when their Batman figures in particular, is the fact that they tend to give them these very thick rubber capes, which it doesn't really work for me. So having these cloth capes would have been fantastic, a definite improvement of what we've already been offered so far. And as I said, to have all these figures in one go would have been absolutely tremendous, especially for me, who missed out on a lot of these first time round, including the Ben Affleck Batman, which is now pretty tricky to track down. So for me, this would have been a real winner, something I definitely would have snagged if I had the opportunity. For a lot of other people, I imagine the incentive would have been the Keaton Batman and the Val Kilmer and George Clooney. But if you are a Clooney Batman fan, worry not, because you will have a second chance to pick this figure up, because in a very surprising turn, McFarlane Toys announced a Batman and Robin wave, with an expected release date of autumn this year. At the moment, all we have are these digital renderings. We don't have any actual figures to look at, but we can see the characters that are going to be released. Of course, we're going to have Batman, we're going to have Robin, we're going to have Batgirl, Poison Ivy, and they will make a Build-A-Figure of Mr. Freeze. Now, I've got to be honest, this was a complete shock to me. I never saw this coming in a million years. As we know, Batman and Robin is not the best loved Batman film in the franchise. That being said, I'm actually really excited to pick this wave up. I'm not a huge fan of this film either. I've watched it maybe once or twice. I saw it as a child on cinema. I enjoyed it at the time. I had fond memories of the film, but obviously as an adult, it's borderline unwatchable in my opinion. But that being said, I'm still really excited for these figures because I love those Batman films, even if I have difficulties rewatching them sometimes. And this definitely harks back to my childhood. So the idea of having these figures together is actually quite exciting in a strange way. And I've always had a soft spot for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and his Mr. Freeze would be really fun to add to this lineup. So I'm really happy that we're going to get these. I will definitely be trying to track these down and pick these up. And I think this will be a really interesting collection. Now, there were a few other DC Multiverse line reveals this weekend, including Hawkman, Sinestro. We have Catman, we have a really funky looking Green Lantern figure, Supergirl, a special edition of Wonder Woman, and a wave of Justice League figures including Batman, Wonder Woman, and a 90s Arthur Curry Aquaman figure, which I think a lot of people will be quite excited about as well. And they all apparently build up a Starro Build-A-Figure, which is quite interesting and unusual. I'm not quite sure what that will look like or how that will come to be, but that's probably going to be quite exciting for a lot of people out there. For me personally, I'm not a huge DC fan. I really love Batman and a little bit of Superman here and there as well. So this probably doesn't have the maximum impact on me as it will do for a lot of people. But I fully appreciate there's a lot of people who'll be really excited about this, and I hope they're as good as the promise is from McFarlane Toys when they finally deliver them. Okay, so moving on to Diamond Select Toys. Now, I have to say, I always wait with bated breath to see what DST are going to be providing us with, and I'm usually a little bit underwhelmed. We've had some great stuff already this year from Diamond Select, especially in their Marvel Select line. I've been really impressed with their recent output, and the quantity and volume has been much greater than we've seen in many years. So I was really hoping to see some more fantastic reveals, but sadly it was a little bit muted in terms of what they had to show. So far, we did see this fantastic Crimson Dynamo figure. It seems to have been hailed with very little fanfare so far, but I'm personally really excited to see more of this. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I think this will be really brilliant to have. I was already really happy with the Titanium Man we got just a couple of years ago, and I've long wanted a Crimson Dynamo, especially a classic version like this. I think this looks tremendous. Obviously it comes with an alternate head as well, and who knows what other bits and pieces it'll have when it actually arrives, but this is going to be one to really look forward to for me. But another big surprise was the House of the Dragon Daemon Targaryen figure, which again pretty exciting for me. I didn't know they were moving into this area, but I would love a series of figures based on House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I think that'd be really exciting. There's definitely a really fun opportunity there, and this would be the main one that I would want from House of the Dragon. Matt Smith's Daemon is absolutely fantastic, a really interesting character, and I think having a figure in his full armour like this is going to be really cool. So this is another one I'll definitely be trying to track down at some point. And then we have some more additions to the Lord of the Rings line. Now this looks like a really fun line. Sadly it's not one I've been able to track down and invest in. They've been quite tricky to pick up, but they've obviously added some more additions that are upcoming, including the Uruk-hai, we have Samwise Gamgee, and Gandalf the White. These all look pretty nice from these images, and I'm sure if you've been collecting this line this will be tremendously exciting. Okay, so next up we have NECA, or NECA, I never know how to pronounce this name, but nevertheless, they had an awful lot to show, as you would expect, particularly when it comes to their horror line of figures, and there were some actual real surprises in here, things that I would not have predicted in a million years. So first up, there's a couple of additions to their Thing line. We can have a brand new variant here of McCready, and we even see the monster itself with all its tentacles and gooey awfulness. So that'll be quite interesting to add to the lineup if you've invested in that line already. And you'll notice that NECA have really invested and going quite deep now on their Universal Horror line. So what you can see at the top of the screen are these toyetic variants on the classic monsters. We have Dracula, we have the creature from the Black Lagoon, and we even have the Phantom of the Opera. Now what distinguishes these from their previous incarnations is that these are not obviously screen accurate, these are toyetic versions, as they would have been released way back when. So they of course have glow in the dark features, they have these sort of plastic polythene capes and cloaks, which is quite unusual. The base figure is pretty much the same, but the paint app's obviously a lot more brighter, a bit more garish, and this will definitely have appeal for some people who collected these when they were younger. For me personally, it's probably one I'm going to pass on. You can also see they're investing in the Puppet Master line, and we have the monsters at the very bottom of the screen as well. Now, I've got to be honest, these aren't massively interesting to me, but I appreciate there's an awful lot of horror fans out there, and these are cult classics, so I'm sure this will be quite exciting for a great many of you. But that's not all, because NECA are also serving up another wave of Universal monster figures as well, including the Bride of Frankenstein, which is pretty exciting. Obviously it's got a brand new head sculpt, very different look and design to the costume. Also comes with this rather fantastic throne that you'll be sitting in as well. We also have the Bride, of course, and all of these figures have various different accessories and alternate heads as well, which makes them really exciting. The one I'm probably most excited for is the Creature of the Black Lagoon. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. I love how they've painted this figure. I think it looks really authentic. I think they've done a beautiful job of this, and of course there is a black and white variant will be available as well. And then we have another Phantom of the Opera figure again with multiple alternate heads. I was already a huge fan of the Universal Monster line. I think they've done a tremendous job, and I think at this point they're going to be probably the definitive version of these characters in the 7-inch scale. But NECA haven't stopped there, because they're also producing a London After Midnight figure, which is pretty exciting, and I believe the first time we've had this character in the 7-inch scale. So real coup there for NECA, and I think they've done it looks like a fantastic job in terms of the photos that I've seen so far. Another complete surprise but very pleasant one was the pictures that we saw of Nosferatu, of Count Orlok from the classic 1922 silent film. I'm a huge fan of this film, I've always loved it. I really like this look and presentation of the character, and I'm really pleased to see him being introduced into this 7-inch scale line. This looks to be, again, pretty definitive really, comes with a number of alternate heads and different hands and hats and accessories and things like that, so you can pretty much recreate all of his looks across that film, and I think this will be absolutely tremendous. It's been a long time since we've had a figure like this in the 7-inch scale of this character, so I personally cannot wait to get my hands on this one. And just when you think that NECA have produced every possible Predator figure known to man, and every possible variant and reissue and Ultimate Edition of those Predator figures, they have gone and brought out a new one. Of course, this is the Predator as based on Prey, the recent film that's on Disney. Absolutely fantastic to have this addition to the line. If you are a long-time collector, you're going to obviously want to add this to your collection. It's such a different look for the Predator, very different design, and I think it will be very distinctive in the collection. As usual, it looks like it comes with a ton of really fun accessories, including alternate mouthpieces, which I think will be tremendously entertaining. So that's absolutely fantastic. But the other big surprise for me is them trying to expand their Robocop line, because we've had some fantastic Robocop figures across the years, variants of Robocop himself and Ed 209, of course, but we have now finally got a Peter Weller pre-Robocop figure, which I think is really interesting. Not quite sure how I feel about this. For me, it's all about Robocop, and I have quite a few variants of that character now that I'm pretty happy with. So I'm not sure. I would love to build out his universe, and I think that's the big incentive. I'm not sure how much I particularly want a pre-Robocop as much as I love Peter Weller, and we do get some fantastic alternate heads with this figure, so it is kind of tempting. I think I probably will plumb for it when it comes out, but it's a little bit of a harder sell. But that said, there are some other characters in the Robocop line I would like to pick up, particularly some of the villains, which I think would be really good. So hopefully they will start to expand this line a little bit more, and it's certainly pleasing to see that they haven't abandoned it. Okay, so now we move into probably the most exciting element for me, and that is of course Hasbro's Marvel Legends line, because there's a few interesting announcements made this weekend, including the X-Men 97 line. Now, for those of you who aren't already aware, they are bringing back the animated series of the X-Men from the 1990s and relaunching it, picking it up on Disney in the next few months. Naturally, Hasbro are ready with a Marvel Legends tie-in line. And this first wave is pretty interesting. We have Wolverine, perhaps not too surprising, but we have Bishop, Magneto, Storm, Rogue, and Gambit. This is a pretty solid lineup, but I am a little bit surprised that we don't have a Cyclops in there, or a Jubilee, for example, as I thought they would be up front and centre as major characters, but they seem to be focusing much more on some of these other characters, which, you know, personally I'm quite pleased with. Obviously, you're never going to go far wrong with a Wolverine. Now, what's interesting about these figures, of course, is that they're based on their new appearances, so as excited as I was to see Bishop, obviously he has a very different hairstyle, very different head sculpt to what I was used to in the 90s, so To be honest, what I was really hoping for was for them to continue the animated series line they've produced over the last few years, which I've become really a big fan of, with the cell shading and everything else. Now, these figures, interestingly, don't have any cell shading whatsoever. So for people who really hated that look, then this is a great way for you to collect these specific characters without that. For me personally, it means I'm going to have a bit of a mixed collection, which is going to be a bit inconsistent and a little bit difficult to swallow, I suppose, in terms of its overall look and presentation. I'm not sure whether that means the original animated series line is now dead, whether we're not going to see any more of those cell shaded figures or variants, which is a shame, or whether they're going to run both in parallel. It's hard to say at this moment in time, but that said, I am really pleased to be able to add a Bishop to that line. I'm really pleased to be able to add a Magneto as well, because obviously they're both really important characters that are missing so far. To be honest, I'm really not sure if I'm going to double dip on the Wolverine and the Storm. I know there's subtle differences. Obviously, Storm has a brand new head sculpt. Likewise, the Wolverine comes with an alternate civilian Wolverine, unmasked Wolverine head, which, you know, would be very cool because I don't have that, but I don't know whether it's worth double dipping them. What I already essentially have, in my opinion, a superior version with the cell shading. So I think this is going to be down to personal opinions. It's going to be down to what you already own and what you collect. But nevertheless, really exciting to see a dedicated line to the 97 wave. I really hope that we'll be able to add some really interesting figures, characters to this lineup. And as I said, for me personally, having the Magneto is a massive win. And sticking with the animated series theme, one of the most exciting announcements at SDCC so far was the reveal of the Spider-Man animated series Peter Parker and Smythe 2-pack. I really love this line, and I've really liked their recent 2-pack releases that have come over the past year. So this is a really fantastic addition and continues the trend of adding a civilian character with a popular villain. And here we have Peter Parker, which could not be more appropriate. I'm actually really pleased to be able to get my hands on a Peter Parker from the animated series, and Smythe one, of course, is very specific, very unique look to that animated series. So this is absolutely fantastic. It actually went up for pre-order today. I've already got my order in, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this set. And then we had the reveal of a Marvel Nightwave with a Mindless One Build-A-Figure. I have to admit, this line took me by surprise, and it does seem really quite inconsistent and a bit of a mismatch of all sorts of different characters that I'm not quite sure is a consistent theme, really. But we do have this Daredevil. Now, I'm not really familiar with this version of Daredevil. I think it's taken from the recent Devil's Reign arc. That was a big crossover event. I have to say, I don't particularly like this look for Daredevil. Having not read this event, I'm not particularly attached to it either, so this doesn't have much resonance for me, and I reckon I'll probably pass on this figure. A big win for me, though, is the introduction of Clear. I think we're long overdue of having a Clear figure. This is really nice to expand Doctor Strange's world, and I think is a really cool addition. Now, it's not the costume I probably would have opted for. I would have gone for a more classic look, but I think this is really bright and colourful, and as I said, I'm really pleased to add this character into the line. Another real surprise, though, was the announcement of Lady Bullseye. Now, I'm not sure if she's current in the Marvel Universe. I really only know her from the Ed Brubaker run, which was a pretty cool run at the time of Daredevil. But I'm not sure my love of that run is enough to help me shell out for this particular figure. I think it might be one, if it becomes discounted and drops in price, I'll probably pick it up. But initially, it's not that exciting to me. Next up, we have Luke Cage Power Man, and it is a classic 70s Luke Cage, which I think will be very exciting to a lot of people. Of course, we haven't really had a stab at this version of the character from Hasbro, I don't think, or at least not for a very long time. We definitely did get one from the Toy Biz years all those years ago, and obviously this is going to be a significant step up. So I think we're long overdue this version of the character again in the line, and I think a lot of people will be very happy to see his inclusion again. Then we have Blade, and this is probably the most exciting figure announcement in this wave, and for me it's the one I'm probably going to pre-order. I think this is a really exciting release. We haven't had a Blade figure in a very long time, and I think the look of this figure is really cool. Plus he comes with some really fun accessories and weapons here, so I think this is going to be a no-brainer for a lot of fans. And then, oddly, we have a Gamerverse Iron Man figure. Just when you think they've covered every version of Iron Man in existence, they find a new one. And of course, this is based on his appearance in the recent Midnight Suns game. I haven't played the game. I'm not massively enthused by this look for the armour. I guess it'll depend on as and when I play the game whether I'll be more enthused by this release. At the moment it's going to be a pass from me. And then, of course, we have to talk about the builder figure. We are getting the mindless one. This is really interesting, very, very unexpected. I can't say I'm massively excited by it, but it is a really cool, chunky figure, an interesting character, one, again, I'd never even thought of, really, of owning in the line. So I do think it's quite cool. It has an alternate head, so we can actually see the sort of the effect of the mist coming out of the eyes, or the eye slot. I think that's really very cool, and I think it will make an impressive addition to the lineup. That said, I don't think it's an incentive enough for me to pick up all of these figures in this wave, but of course people may feel very, very differently. So all in all, a bit of a surprising wave, a little bit inconsistent. It's loosely themed on Marvel Knights, but I'm not sure it's that cohesive as a whole, especially with the introduction of Iron Man there. That feels a bit cheeky, but I guess people might feel very differently to me. So let me know in the comments if this is something you're really excited for. For me, this is a bit bland, it's a bit middle of the road. There's one or two I'll pick up, but the others I'll probably pass on. Okay, so I've talked your ears off long enough with my thoughts and my particular highlights from SDCC so far. As I said at the top of the video, there may have been some more announcements since I posted this video today. I do want to give a shout out and a thank you to toyark.com though, because I've been scouring their website, keeping up to date with all the different announcements. I think they do an absolutely fantastic job of sharing images and keeping us posted with all the various news out there. So a tremendous site, definitely recommend it if you've not used it before. I will put a link in the description so that you can go and check out the website and check out all the various news and features as well. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and remember to subscribe, as there'll be plenty more videos soon.